Hi there, happy hump day. Welcome, it's Wednesday. So today we're talking about creativity. Now, would you classify yourself as creative? Or do you put yourself in that, I'm not very creative, I can't come up with good ideas? I'd challenge that notion because I think everybody has elements of creativity in them. Sometimes it's just about finding ways to tap into it. And that's what we're going to be talking about. I remember reading an article, and this was about a year ago, and it was a report from Collective Campus, which is an innovative consulting company. And they had, at that time, just recently released their list of the most innovative companies around the world. And at the time that the report got released, the organization's CEO, Steve Gillespie, talked about, particularly in the Australian context, how often there is too much innovation theatre. And what he meant by that was organizations coming out and talking about how innovative they are, innovation labs, hackathons, all of those post-it notes out there with agile methodologies and tools and processes. So it looks like there's a lot of innovation happening. It looks like there's a lot of creativity, but in fact, there's very little. What he was saying is often there's some great initiatives, but often much of it is PR focused. So it got me thinking about how we approach creativity and what do we deem to be innovative, creative, new ways of thinking. And one of the quotes that I really like when you think about this is a quote from the esteemed economist John Maynard Keynes. And he talks about that the difficulty lies not so much in developing new ideas, but in leaving those old ideas behind. Now for me, I think it's actually a bit of both, because it can be hard to let old ideas go. But sometimes it can also be hard to find new ideas. And that is because, as I said right at the beginning, sometimes we don't see ourselves as creative. We don't see ourselves as innovative. And so we can box ourselves in, but also we can box other people in. We can, in a sense, pigeonhole them and see them in a certain way. We all have the ability to be creative. It's just about the degree of that creativity. There was a study done by Harvard University, and they found that people who do better at creative tasks, they've often got more creative hobbies, more creative activities that they take part in, and that means that they're training their brain to be more creative. And what happened in the study was that the people or the participants were asked to complete a series of tasks that are focused on divergent thinking. And they were given objects, and they were asked to come up with different ways of using common everyday objects. And so the study actually found that different parts of the brain are used in creative activities, and that people who are good at creative activities, actually their brain is wired slightly differently. And people who are creative are better able to engage different parts of the brain that don't typically work together. Part of this, though, is about how you define creativity. Because is creativity about coming up with something completely new? Is it about a different way of thinking? Or is it about taking something that someone else has done and making it better, improving it in some way? To me, it's about that degree of creativity, because there is creativity around us and in all of us. So to me, creativity, it comes in all shapes and sizes. And so rather than labeling yourself as non-creative, it's time to seek out structures, processes, systems, things that you can do that actually help elevate your creativity. And part of it is about creating space in your day for that creative thinking. So I'm going to give you a whole list of ideas, some things that are going to help you be more creative. Number one, and this is probably one of the most important, shift your environment. We get inspired. We can see things differently when we're experiencing new things and when we're in a different place. So sometimes take your work outdoors, go into nature, go sit in a cafe, a park, wherever. Place where you can be to think differently. Take up a hobby, an activity that is different from your day job, because that's going to help create those new neural pathways. It's going to help you use different regions of your brain. Get moving. And by that I mean exercise. We know that exercise and physical activity is really good to get those endorphins going, to get the dopamine pumping around so you feel better. But also, when you are exercising, that's going to help spark new ideas as well. Read widely. And by reading widely, I mean breadth of activity and knowledge and insights and depth as well. Because if you only read one genre, one style, that's going to really limit your frame of reference. What you want to do is seek knowledge from a range of sources. You might have heard people use the term polymath. And so a polymath is someone who is an expert in multiple fields. That's a really good thing to strive for. Because when you can see knowledge and insights across multiple streams, genres, you're able then to unpack things and look at things from multiple angles and also see those connections, which can be really fascinating. Find an idea that you think is really interesting. Then look at it, how you can twist it, shape it, reframe it. But what you're doing is taking someone's idea and adding to it. Buddy up with someone. It's always good to hang out with people. We like having friends. It's even better if you can get together and collaborate with someone. Find someone who thinks differently to you, who perhaps has different knowledge sources to you, because when you do that, you're going to get that diverse mix of ideas and experiences. Number 7, sleep on it. Take a break. Something happens when we sleep. We know that, yes, the little vacuum cleaners come into our brain and clear away all the dead brain cells. So sleeping is very good for your brain health. But also what happens overnight is your brain processes, works through things. And one thing that can be really helpful is to have a notepad by your bed, so that if you wake up in the middle of the night and you've got that spark of an idea, write it down. Because if you go back to sleep when you wake up the next morning, sorry to say, that new idea of yours is going to be gone. That's it. 7 ideas, things that you can do to spark that creative element that is within you. And as you think about this, I'm going to share some words from Winston Churchill. And I really like this comment because he talks about, without tradition, art is a flock of sheep without a shepherd. But also without innovation, it's a corpse. So that might seem a little bit negative, but it's just encouraging us. We need traditions. We need to look at what's old and keep the things that matter. But we also need to continue to always challenge ourselves. Have a wonderful week. Take care, and I'll see you next week.